The woman's voice trembled as she stood before the tribunal, her words barely a whisper. I remember the boots, the sound of them crushing glass outside our home. I was only 9. My brother never made it out. In the quiet town of Bweremana, the world slows to a crawl. Located near the Congo-Rwanda border, the town is an echo of a forgotten time. Bicycles groan over cracked roads, the scent of roasted maize mingles with red dust in the air, and time itself seems reluctant to move forward. Here lives Jean Mukasa, a man known to his neighbors only as Papa Jean. He repairs bicycles for a living, sometimes without asking for payment. His workshop is a lean-to made of rusted aluminum, propped against the remains of a colonial building. There are no family photos on the walls, no visible past. Jean's story is written in silence, but in his eyes you can see something buried, something smoldering just beneath the surface. April 1994. Jean was 23 and lived in Nyamata, Rwanda. A quiet teacher, newly engaged to a woman named Celestine. They had dreams of opening a village library. But when the genocide began, dreams were the first to die. One morning, militia stormed the village. Jean's mother had just finished baking cassava bread. She barely had time to scream before a blade silenced her. His father was shot in the chest, collapsing onto their doorstep. Jean and his younger sister Alvera, just 13, tried to escape through a banana grove. Only Jean made it out. He doesn't know exactly what happened to Alvera, only that the banana leaves were wet with more than morning dew. He heard her cry once, then nothing. He fled east into the Congo. He never went back. In 2023, a letter arrives, its envelope unusually crisp for a place that sees so much rain. It comes from the Mechanism for International Criminal Tribunals. A mass grave had been discovered during road expansion near Nyamata. DNA testing, now routine for war crime units, had linked remains to a familial match, Alvera Mukasa. Jean hadn't spoken her name aloud in nearly 30 years. The news unlocked something. Not grief, not immediately, but obligation. I had spent years surviving, but I never told the story, he later said. That letter was the beginning. Jean wasn't alone. Soon, other survivors began speaking too. A mechanic in Kisangani, a nun in Goma, a blind man who played guitar near a refugee camp in Uganda. These were people who had quietly lived their lives, carrying memories like smuggled contraband across decades. One of them was Eunice Nshuti, a nurse now living in Kenya. During the genocide, she was just 14. She had been hiding in a dry well with 3 other girls when soldiers discovered them. They pulled the girls out one by one. Eunice was the last. She watched each of her friends die before they reached her. She only survived because the commander's radio crackled with new orders. They needed to leave. Quickly. She was forgotten, half dead, covered in soil, but alive. Today, Eunice trains young women in trauma-informed care. As testimonies poured in, one strange detail kept resurfacing. A white truck with blue stripes. Many survivors remembered seeing it before their villages were attacked. At first, investigators dismissed it, but the frequency of the memory forced a deeper look. Archival footage and declassified air surveillance confirmed it. The trucks belonged to an international NGO that had operated throughout East and Central Africa. Its mission? Humanitarian logistics and medical support. But flight logs told a different story. Several of those trucks appeared on military-run landing strips, hours before known massacres. Then came the whistleblower. An anonymous former logistics officer leaked internal documents revealing that the NGO was a shell operation. In truth, it was being used to monitor high-risk territories for Western intelligence. Some of its staff were operatives, others simply complicit. The trucks had GPS tools, not medicine. Cameras, not vaccines. They weren't there to help. They were there to watch. Among the most disturbing discoveries were journal entries from aid workers who had defected. One described a program to observe sociocultural behavior in conflict. Another detailed a visit to a camp where orphan children were given machetes and forced into simulated combat. One child, referred to as Subject D, was later identified as Diudon, now a pastor in South Kivu. He had been kidnapped at 10, trained to kill, and forced to watch his best friend executed for stealing a yam. Now he builds orphanages. And yet, every year on April 7th, he walks into the jungle alone with a candle and does not return until sunrise. He told investigators, "I am not afraid of the dark. I am afraid of remembering what I did when it was dark." What began as testimonies grew into an avalanche of classified data, seized through court orders and investigative journalism. One document, coded Operation Vineglass, was a 47-page intelligence briefing dated June 1994. It discussed anticipated outcomes of destabilizing ethnic tensions and monitoring tools already in place via NGO satellite vehicles. Gene read it. He was silent for a long time. Then he folded the document and said, "They filmed our deaths and filed them, but there were victories too. Through these revelations, several international figures were subpoenaed. Some denied involvement, some vanished, but some, like Dr. Alan Hume, a former field director, confessed. I thought we were there to help," he admitted during his tribunal testimony. But the mission changed. Or maybe it was never what we thought it was. Not every story ends with justice, but many end with truth. In 2024, a survivors' conference was held in Kigali. Over 600 people attended. They didn't wear name tags. They wore hand-woven bracelets, each color representing who they had lost. Red for a parent, yellow for a sibling, green for a child. Gene wore 3. He gave a speech, not written, just spoken, in Kinyarwanda. "My sister once braided my hair before school. I was annoyed because she did it too tight. That's the last thing I remember." If you remember someone you loved, tell their story. If no one tells it, they disappear twice. The crowd was silent. Then someone clapped. Then many. Some wept. Some held hands. And in that room, filled with people who had lost everything, there was something few had felt in years. Safety. Eunice, the nurse who survived the well, runs a clinic now. Every baby born gets a small charm, engraved with the name of someone she once knew. She says it's her way of bringing their names back to life. Diudon has taken in 27 former child soldiers. None of them remember their real birthdays, so he gave them one, April 8th. He throws a party every year, with cake, and no questions asked. And Gene? Gene finally finished building that library he dreamed of. It stands beside a mango tree near Lake Kivu. Children read under the shade while he repairs bicycles beside them. There's a plaque by the door, in memory of Alvera, and the silence we broke. These stories aren't ancient. They're today. In the echoes of violence, the only thing louder is memory. Share the story. Subscribe to help voices like Gene's be heard, because silence is where injustice hides. Every survivor, every scar, every untold truth deserves to be heard. Click the bell icon to never miss a new story that the headlines left behind. And if you believe stories like Gene's need to be shared, like, comment, and share this video with someone who still thinks the past doesn't echo into today. You're not just watching, you're helping preserve memory. You're making silence impossible.